rolling here, so we have everything ready to go. Looks like the date is working, looks like the audio is working, so it doesn't sound like I'm talking out of a trash can, which has happened before. That's very true. So, all right, let's go ahead and get Facebook geared up and ready to go here to make sure that everybody is on board with all that we have to talk about for tonight. It was a beautiful day. If you had a chance to get out and about, really awesome to get out there and see what was going on with the drier air in place. Really just not much more in the way of very nice, dry, calm weather out there. It could be, again, the possibility of some more problems coming up, especially for heading outdoors. We'll talk more about that again in just a little bit. If you've never been here before, YouTube and Twitch, you're up right now. Facebook is coming online here in just a second, so stay tuned and we'll get things rolling here in just a little bit. Cannot say enough about this nice weather. Unfortunately, we are going to be seeing more potential for problems with both heat, humidity, and minor possibilities of some thunderstorms coming our way. We'll talk more about that again in just a little while. If you got questions about the forecast, again, just let us know. Drop them into the comments section. And stay tuned, Twitch and YouTube, and we will be heading to Facebook here in just a second. All right, it is peak of the week Wednesday. Beautiful day out there, no problem at all with the weather whatsoever. Hopefully you had a chance to get out and enjoy it, because unfortunately the dry conditions we've had, we actually had in a way a negative heat index, to where it was so dry today that the sweat with the humidity in the air has trouble evaporating today. The air was so dry, the sweat just basically leaps right off your skin and cools you off pretty well. So that, unfortunately, is going to be coming to an end. We'll show you why and how coming up here in just a little bit. If you've never been here before, again, welcome to the show. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onek. It is the Wednesday edition of News 12's video weather blog called Weather Overtime. We are live right now on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So if you'd like to tune in on any of those platforms, please feel free to do so. Got questions about the forecast directed into and around this particular area? That's great. If you have forecast questions elsewhere, we'll do our best to answer them as we go along. But we have a ton of stuff to talk about tonight, and not just about the weather. We had some seismic activity down towards South America. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. And the energy from an earthquake or two moved through this area. We couldn't feel it, but the helicorders, the seismometers, could. And we'll show you where you can get that information coming up here in just a little bit. So again, if you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, say hello in the comments section. And again, thanks to our sponsor, Epicos Comics, Cards, and Games, for being our sponsor here. Overnight, it's going to be pleasant. Temperatures will be nice, back into the mid to high 60s to low 70s. Not looking at too much problems. Clouds coming and going. So it should be a pretty awesome night to get out and grab a late night / early morning nosh out there. Temperatures today, we did not even manage to get as warm as yesterday. Yesterday, we were very close to normal in the high 80s. That did not happen. We only made it into the mid 80s or so. No rainfall for today. We're behind for the month, and we're closing in on half a foot behind for 2026. It's been a very dry year comparatively. Last couple of years has been pretty soaked all the way through. In this case, this time around, it is not quite the case, and we are seeing some much drier conditions. If the drought index that comes out tomorrow says so, it's a good possibility that we either stay the same or the drought got worse across the area. Hopefully that rain we picked up over the weekend and into this early part of this last week helped at least a little bit, but we'll see what happens there in just a little bit. Thanks to News 12 viewer David Dodson from Ottawa, a beautiful view. He sent in several shots of various waterfalls around the area, and this is the latest one that we picked up for today. So thanks very much to Mr. Dodson from Ottawa for a beautiful view of some of the waterfalls around the region. I really need to get out and take a look at some more of the natural works out there. to see what everybody else has been taking a look at. If you've got pictures, we would love to see what you're seeing out there. You can turn them in various ways. You can email them to us. You can drop into social media in the comments section. But the best way to do it is this one right here. Go to our website at wdef.com/photos, and yours could be the next HEP Heating weather window picture of the day. That's a great way also to see what everybody else has been submitting for the pictures of the day. If you'd like to get an idea about what everybody else has been turning in, that would be a good idea to take a look at there. Thanks to the Tennessee Aquarium for our backdrop shot, the Chattanooga Weather Cam right along Aquarium Way and looking back toward the Tennessee Aquarium. This is looking back toward the north and east in that general direction toward the Riverwalk in that area, and more than a few folks out and about. It's a beautiful evening out there. No problem at all being seen. Out and about for a dip in the pool tomorrow. It will be a very good day for that, as we see, again, the potential for a lot of sunshine. No rainfall expected for tomorrow, and numbers by the time we hit about prime pool time after lunch into early evening, going to be back around 90 degrees. So a good splash in the pool would be a very good idea tomorrow. Again, please make certain practicing good pool safety. As I've seen before, a couple of websites saying it very good. Drowning does not look or sound like drowning. In TV and movies, you see somebody going down for the fourth time, making a lot of noise, screaming properly. Well, a lot of the times, a lot of people are too busy just trying to breathe and try to get up to the top of the water so that they are actually very quiet. That's why the lifeguards have to look and see what is going on. So let's all practice good pool safety as we go into the rest of the next couple of days, especially through the rest of the summer season. Now, nothing going on in our neck of the woods, but earlier tonight, roughly about 6 o'clock Eastern time, give or take, somewhere in there, a couple of earthquakes happened. One was a 7.2, that was the precursor, and then the main quake happened after that as a 7.5 earthquake. We're still trying to get information about what actually happened and how bad the damage is. This was on the northern coast of Venezuela, and that sent energy out into the oceans to where the NOAA Pacific Tsunami Warning Center sent out a statement saying that there was the possibility of a tsunami across the Caribbean, parts of the Atlantic, and into maybe even the Gulf, depending on how much energy went that direction. But later on, and what you see on the screen here, they issued another statement about an hour or so later to show that there was not an imminent tsunami threat. Again, it was just the possibility of minor sea level fluctuations up to about 30 centimeters, give or take about a foot or so in English sterling measurements. Below the normal tide may occur in coastal areas near the earthquake over the next few hours and continuing up to several hours. So there might have been some disturbance wandering through the Caribbean back into the Gulf and parts of the Atlantic. This has been a very seismically active area in just the last couple of weeks. A couple of earthquakes west of Cuba a couple of weeks ago. Of course, you've got the island of Montserrat out there with the volcano. That can cause all sorts of problems. Now, this is where it gets pretty interesting, because energy can be translated through air, and it depends on the medium. But in this case, the earthquake energy happened down here, but that some of that earthquake energy translated into seismic energy that went through the Earth's crust. This is what is called a heliquarter display. This information from the University of Memphis Center for Earthquake Research and Information. Borrowing what is called their heliquarter, this one on Signal Mountain, just again around the northwest side of Chattanooga. Every single line that you see here, color-coded red or black, red, blue, green, repeating over and over. So this is one 15-minute line. 4 lines equals 1 hour. And everything is fine until you get down to about 6 o'clock this evening, going over at that point to 6:10 p.m., and that is where the black line starts squiggling violently. That is the energy of that earth, those earthquakes, plural, going through. And that continues for another several hours afterwards. Now, this is a graphic. This is not a live picture here. So this shows you up until about, say, right about 7:30, somewhere in there. The flat bottoms that you see there is where the information, the needle, for all intents and purposes, just sort of pegs out a little bit. So that right there was going on for at least another hour or so. Now, this is not what we could feel. This is being detected by some very sensitive instruments. We would not feel it. It's unlikely that we would probably not, any animals would not be able, would be able to hear it. It's possible, but again, not likely. So kind of neat to be able to see this information. And if you'd like to see this and get the links to the helicorder sites, all you have to do is go to our social media pages and take a look. And we've got plenty of information there, including links back to SERI, University of Memphis, and to the United States Geological Survey, if you'd like to take a look there for that. Beautiful evening. Don't know how the lookouts are doing. Rick Nyman will have an update on sports, but a nice view of the, it looks like we're going to the cycling lights display here on the north and south towing camera. All of our cameras available on the EPB Fiber Optics WeatherCam network page. Looks like we're having a bit of a stall in data. There we go, seeing again some of those lights doing the blipping back and forth on there. It's a beautiful evening for baseball. 75 degrees, winds are calm. We'll see how the lookouts did coming up a little bit later tonight on sports with Rick Nyman. Air quality is actually okay. We were down in the green or good category. Even particle pollution is back up, but it's still green or good. Ozone is down a little bit, still in the green, but that's the next highest pollutant gas, and that is at 21. So overall, air quality has been doing pretty good all the way through. Now we've got high pressure sitting over the Virginias. Winds around high pressure rotate clockwise, so as this moves over to the east, winds will start to turn from the northeast back around to the south. And south of our latest front, that's what gave us the severe weather on Monday. Now sitting between us and the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic, all the warm, moist air has been pushed down from the Rio Grande out into around the Gulf Stream area. And that is where all the really hot and muggy conditions are for right now. But we'll be picking up more of that in the next several days as that air begins to make its way up from the Gulf and heads up our direction. Now we do have some of that moisture spiraling into the plain states. Pretty good outbreak of severe weather potential up around the Denver area, Wyoming, back toward western Nebraska. So it could be some rough weather there. If you're traveling there overnight by air, could be some fairly choppy travel going on. But that's the only chance of severe weather even really near to us in the course of the next couple of days. Now this area of high pressure moves east. What's left of that front falls apart, but the warm air surges back up our direction. It's going to be pretty toasty tomorrow, right about normal. And then as we go into Friday, this next front tries to drop a little closer to us. So by Friday afternoon, a smattering of showers and thunderstorms possible. And again, as we go into around Saturday afternoon, that'll be the best potential for showers and thunderstorms. That's also where we see, again, notice our high temperature is going to be heading easily back into the lower to mid 90s. So some pretty toasty conditions out there, and not that low at nighttime, down around Atlanta, Macon, Montgomery, Nashville, mid 70s for low temperatures early Sunday morning. So we're talking about some fairly uncomfortable conditions, and that goes right into the early part of next week, and that is where we see the best potential for anything involving some uncomfortable numbers. Now tonight, you might want to keep the windows open for just a little bit longer because we've got the potential of numbers back into the low 60s for northeast Alabama, low 60s for north central Georgia. Western parts of North Georgia could be back in the mid 60s for low temperatures. Western North Carolina, you'll see the coolest numbers back in the mid to high 50s there. And parts of extreme southeast Tennessee, right up along the North Carolina-Georgia line, you might see a couple of 50s there, but primarily it's lower 60s. So If you can, give your air conditioning a break because it is going to need a pretty good amount of assistance coming up in the next several days. Now, this is what was issued by the U.S. Drought Monitor last week, Thursday. It updates every week on Thursday, so the next update will be tomorrow. And some of the area here in the mid part and eastern parts of the News 12 viewing area in a 4 out of 5 extreme drought situation. Now, that is much improved from the last couple of weeks, no question about that, but it is not as good as it could be in all of the News 12 viewing area, with the exception of western Marion, Tennessee, and Jackson County, Alabama. In those areas, there is no drought at this point, according to the Drought Monitor, but for everybody else, North Georgia, Southeast Tennessee, Western North Carolina, and a small chunk of Northeast Alabama still has a deficit that needs a huge amount of rainfall to overcome that. Now, our rain from earlier this week, that might have an impact, maybe. But again, we'll watch and see what goes on with that, so keep it tuned to News 12 and we'll let you know a little bit more about what happened there. It is still National Lightning Safety Awareness Week. The topic today is lightning safety indoors. And this is very important because, again, it's very rare for lightning to be able to travel in and leap through wiring or metal conductive material and hurt someone. It is very possible, though, and that's why we warn people to stay off of things like this with some sort of copper wiring in it, because, again, the lightning can travel down that. The idea of it being able to leap several feet, like you might see in maybe a strange sci-fi or horror movie, that's rare. But there have been documented cases to where you have somebody who's using the phone that is connected into the wall, and there is just enough of a gap, a spark, to hurt or kill someone on there. So while a storm is in progress, anything that is in some way halfway connected to the wiring or the electrical grid that can draw power, that could be dangerous. So again, staying off of a corded phone, that is going to be one of your best bets on there. Staying off of the cell phone, that usually is not going to be too much of a problem, again, unless it's connected. I always unplug my computers and my phone from the power supply just to be on the safe side from out of the wall sockets, because it only takes a minor amount of electricity to really mess one of these things up. And again, staying off of those things, unplugging your appliances, unplugging your computer, unplugging your phone would not be a bad idea. That's not overreacting, that's just basic safety to make certain that you and all of your valued electronic stuff is safe and able to survive that. More information from the Lightning Safety Council at lightningsafetycouncil.org if you would like to find out more details there. Now, coming up this weekend, and one hobby that teaches you about electrical safety, it's paramount on there, about communications law, about good communications practices, about technology, about learning about frequencies and the frequency spectrum. It's called amateur radio. I'm an amateur radio operator, so yes, I love to toot the horn about this event coming up. Saturday and Sunday, all around the world, this is the day of days for amateur radio. It's called Field Day because groups and individual ham operators will operate. Not everybody does it from the field out and away from like a clubhouse or the home. The reason they do this out and about someplace where you will see tents and antennas and power supply and a lot of ham radio signs someplace advertising the club's website and other information is to get that out in front of the public so that everybody can see more about what amateur radio is and how cool of a hobby it is. This is a map from the American Radio Relay League, Chattanooga in the center right here, and you can see all around the News 12 viewing area there are about, give or take, a dozen sites that have been listed on here to find out, to let people know this is where we will be operating as a group, as a club, things like that. So this is your opportunity to go to a website like the American Radio Relay League at arrl.org and find out more about Field Day, they have a search section here so you can find out exactly where these clubs are setting up. I am going to be going to the radio club in Cleveland coming up this Saturday at noon, talking a lot about inclement weather resources to find online that might come in handy for being an amateur radio operator, or again, anybody who would be interested on that. And Cleveland ARC would love to have you stop by. If you don't know anything about amateur radio, you can sit in when they start activating for Field Day at 2 p.m. I'll be talking at 12 noon. If you would like to attend, that's great. Again, there's no cost for any of this, but they are asking, for courtesy's sake, will you please make certain to email them or to go to their website to RSVP and let them know that you will be attending some of the events and who you can talk to on there. If you'd like to know more, email address down there, k4rxs@carc.cc. And also, again, the website available at carc.cc. A great opportunity, again, to learn more about a great hobby. Amateur radio is not dying. A lot of people may like you to think that or are mistaken on that, but it is not dying. In fact, amateur radio is showing a great resiliency to obsolescence and doing a very good job of making certain that the operators out there, the people who put all this stuff together and work together to help when disaster strikes or just to talk with somebody around the block, this is a good opportunity to really learn more about what amateur radio is all about. And we depend here at News 12 and also in various other locations, law enforcement, safety officers will listen in on various amateur radio frequencies to see if there are any reports of severe weather. Back in Memphis, the National Weather Service depended on amateur radio reports, and we got the warnings from the National Weather Service just that much earlier on the amateur radio bands. Again, that was back in Memphis. I haven't really found anything like that here. But if you'd like to know more, this is a great opportunity. Again, Field Day this Saturday and this Sunday. Tons of information. Again, find your local radio club. They are out there at various locations, and all you have to do is go to the website to find out more details, and there are many of them around and about. So check out what's available, and again, definitely want to stop by and ask questions. It's one of the best things that you can possibly do out there. Nice view. I'm not too sure which one that is, if that's Venus or Jupiter. I think that's Venus because it is a little bit brighter for tonight. Looking off to the west and the fading glow of sunset on the Island Cove Marina and Resort camera. Not any good news where the temperature is concerned as we close out National Lightning Safety Awareness Week. Friday evening, Saturday afternoon and evening, there may be the possibility of showers and thunderstorms. Not a great chance, but one or two of those could be strong to kind of borderline severe, something that we will be watching on that. But notice here the temperature is very close to normal in the next few days. Normal, if you saw the almanac at the beginning of our presentation, is about 89 degrees for this time of the year, and that's where we're going to be for the next few days. Starting Sunday, high 90s. By the middle of next week, could be pushing the century mark, so we're looking at some very hot and not to mention much more humid weather coming up in the course of the next several days. So if you have outdoor plans, you've got athletic camps, you've got anything in the way of graduation ceremonies going on, family events like weddings and reunions and stuff like that, someone in all of those groups should be paying attention to what's going on with the weather, especially with these temperatures. We could be, by the end of this next 7-day forecast, looking at heat index numbers. Again, that's the temperature and the dew point mixed together to give you the heat index, and we could be looking at heat index numbers of 105 plus. We've already got heat advisories in effect back to our west. I would not be surprised to see some more heat advisories being issued for portions of the area going on into the middle of next week. Minor chance of showers and thunderstorms coming up on Wednesday of next week. But for right now, again, things are decently quiet. And we are coming up next week, Tuesday. That's the 30th. That will be Asteroid Day. So if you'd like to know more about that, stay tuned. We'll be talking about that over the next several days. Very important event happened on that day back in 1908, if I'm not mistaken. For the Tunguska event, and that is why we have Asteroid Day going on, to make certain people are paying attention to what's going on up in the sky. So stay tuned, and we'll keep you updated on all the stuff going on there. Into the morning hours, it will be kind of cool, maybe not as cool as last night, but temperatures around Chattanooga and the River Valley back into around the mid-60s or so, and that is where we'll see the potential for maybe some patchy fog out there. Chip Chapman has got your forecast coming up on the morning show, so want to stay tuned for more details on that. And of course, Chip will have more details for you coming up bright and early. That's at 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so stay tuned for more with News 12 on air and online. All right, let's briefly go to our question of the day, sponsored by Williams Plumbing Services. Our voting polls are available at wdef.com/vote now if you'd like to vote. The question of the day for our weather poll, being National Lightning Safety Awareness Week, people are more interested in hopefully finding out more about lightning safety and things like that. So when lightning strikes someone, lightning charge goes through somebody, they're knocked unconscious or worse, is it in fact safe to be able to touch that victim to find out if they have a pulse, to see if they're breathing, stuff like that? Is it safe to do so? In other words, does a human body carry a residual electrical charge that gets stored in the body that can damage somebody else if you touch that victim to see if they're okay? Yes or no? Well, 2/3 of the votes came in to say yes, it is absolutely safe, because the amount of electricity that goes through a victim takes usually less than a second, but we're talking about hundreds of millions of volts. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of amps. So it's a good possibility that the victim may be knocked unconscious, may stop breathing. They may need CPR and artificial respiration. They are going to, again, need some help, but the charge that goes through the body leaves it just as quickly. So there is no residual charge. Now, if there is, say, a victim which is in contact with a downed power line of some sort, and yes, this is a terrible representation, but if that person is in contact with a power line that got knocked down, you don't know if that power line is live or not unless there's sparks going up. The best thing to do is to get on the phone to emergency services, 911, immediately. Have them turn off the power to that line, tell them where you are, and they should be able to turn it off. And then you should be able to get the victim to where they need to be and to help them as soon as possible. But it really involves quick action on there. But can you touch a lightning victim after the strike? Yes, there is no risk of any large charge going on there. We'll have another lightning question coming up tomorrow. That'll be actually coming up at midnight, so you can find out more about what's going on there. And stay tuned to News 12 for more information on Lightning Safety Awareness Week as we go throughout the next couple of days, finishing up on Saturday. So definitely something to kind of take a look at there. That should do it for tonight. No comments on Twitch or YouTube, and nothing showing up on Facebook at this time. So we'll go ahead and throw it back to your regular Wednesday night evening festivities, whatever they happen to be. I'll have more coming up on News 12 at 11. Chip will have more coming up on the morning show starting at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. And stay tuned for more on our website and everything down below here. And I'm on all of these social media channels if you'd like to stop by and check out details there from various points in time. Thanks for joining us. It is, again, Wednesday evening, the 24th of June, rapidly running out of month and year for that matter. I'll have more tonight at 11, and of course, Chip will have more in the morning, so stay tuned there. Live and direct, I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onek from the News 12 studios in downtown Chattanooga. Stay tuned for more with News